and coffee's done. Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to go through a full week of a power building program and what that looks like for me. And I will probably also link exactly what I've written up here in my notes and just put them down in the description box as well so that you can see just the full workout. So first of all, what is a power building program? This is kind of just like the best of both worlds between powerlifting and bodybuilding, hence why it's called power building. Essentially, power building is going to be for you if you are someone who really enjoys the empowerment from strength training, but also feels empowered through physique and looking good, which a lot of people do want to be strong and look good naked. So that is what power building is all about, essentially. Also, I want to know, I typically train 4 to 5 times per week. Usually it's 5 times per week, but this week it was only 4. I can show you guys more what a 5-day training split for power building looks like, but that is not this video. So if you only have 4 days you can train, here's something that you can try out. So we're gonna hop right into our first day of training, which is a squat or leg day. So with this, we start with a warm-up of 10 minutes on the Stairmaster. You can do an incline walk if you prefer that as well. Both of those are great warm-ups for leg days. And then we're gonna hop right into our dumbbell squats. We're gonna do 4 by 12, and this is actually gonna be superset with 12 weighted glute bridges. If you want to build your glutes, you can focus on a compound movement like a squat or deadlift, and then superset that with a isolated glute movement such as these glute bridges. So we move on to the next superset, which is 3 by 12 of the single leg hamstring curls, and this one is going to be superset with Bulgarian split squats, which you will see in just a second. You want to make sure you're keeping those hips down. A lot of times you'll see people lift their hips up from the padding when they're in that prone position, which is just lying face down. You want to not do that because then you're taking that weight into the low back, and your goal here is to isolate those hammies. And then with those Bulgarian split squats, this is a great killer combo. So this is just like a lunge, except you're in a static position. That back leg is going to be elevated. You can have your back leg elevated higher, you can have it elevated lower. Just start with a low elevation initially and then increase the elevation based on the intensity. Next thing we're going to go into is 4 by 10 single leg deadlifts with the kettlebells. This is a great one to work the posterior side of your body, so glutes, hammies. This is also great for balance and stability training. For me, I'm focusing on working that glute med, making sure that my knee is in alignment with my toes and my hips, and he is focusing on low back control. So then we finish this workout today with 5 sets of 8 to 12 on the leg press. We're just going really heavy, pushing through with that final burn, going hard to end this session. And this is probably one of my favorite exercises for leg day when you're just really focusing on that total strength. So that is it for day 1. We are going to move on to day 2. This is a bench day or an upper body day. For warm-ups, I didn't film this one, but warm-ups I did external rotations and some light dumbbell chest press work, just working up to that main movement for these dumbbell chest presses that you're seeing. So for the main movement, after that warm-up, I do 4 sets of 8 to 12 of these chest presses with the dumbbells, and I'm working up to an RPE about 8-ish, trying to go relatively heavy with these, but I replaced this in my actual powerlifting program because I just transitioned from a strength plan over to a power building plan to get more of that hypertrophy focus. The reason I moved to a dumbbell chest press instead of the barbell press in this plan is because it is better for range of motion, it is better on the shoulders, and if you are in an off season as a power lifter, it's better and safer for the shoulders, plus it's better for hypertrophy to transition some of those barbell movements over to some dumbbell movements. And then we're going to move on to 4 by 10 to 12 banded pull-ups. Now, if you don't have bands, the thicker loop bands, you can use the assisted pull-up machine, but I typically recommend just using bands if you have them because you get more of that natural movement when you are doing the banded pull-ups versus when you use the assisted pull-up machine. Then we're going to move on to 3 by 12 barbell rows, and this will be superset with 10 weighted push-ups. The barbell rows, make sure you're pulling up with the elbows, keeping that core nice and tight, belly button facing towards the floor, And then with the 10 weighted push-ups, they're fun, they're challenging, you look like a badass, and also it really focuses on not only your upper body strength, but it also focuses on your core strength. So if you're trying to get abs, perfect those push-ups and stop letting your low back sink when you do them. If you're not able to, then don't do these weighted. You can do decline as another option if the weighted is too much. We're gonna move into our next superset, which is going to be 3x12 of the close grip pull downs. This will be superset with 10 dumbbell lateral raises. In my programs, I try my best to switch from different variations of pull downs so that we can target different areas of our back just a little bit differently, which is how we grow, especially when we're focusing on hypertrophy like we are with this movement. And then we do those dumbbell lateral raises. I hate these ones, and I really have to put focus into not using my traps. I'm very trap dominant, so naturally when I do these, my traps want to take over. So what I'm focusing on here is just squeezing those shoulder blades together and lifting my arms up, reaching towards the side of the walls rather than kind of pulling and shrugging with my shoulders. We finish this workout with some core work, some general core work, which is 2 sets of 60-second planks, and then we do 2 sets of 60-second side planks. I have side planks as one of my favorite core movements for powerlifters because it really helps with stability in our main movements, and it helps with core strength in our main movements. Planks and side planks both are ones you will almost always see in my programming. We're moving on to day 3. This is our deadlift day or leg day. And for warm-ups, again, I didn't film this, but I did some glute bridges, and then I did some barbell work working up to my main movements. And then for the main movement, we do 5 by 10 to 12 of the barbell conventional deadlifts. Right now I'm doing barbell conventional deadlifts. This is my comp movement when I compete in powerlifting. That being said, I also just haven't been doing mini sumo deadlifts because of the position it puts my knee in, and because I'm recovering from my knee injury still. And so conventional deadlifts are the safest one for me right now. But you can choose between sumo and conventional if you want to play around with both. Sumo is more of that wide stance, conventional is the one you're seeing here. And then we move on to another single set. This is 4 by 12 of the barbell hip thrusts. This is a glute booty builder go-to if you do not have hip thrusts in your training program and you're trying to grow your glutes. What are you doing? You got to do those hip thrusts. They also are a great accessory for building your squat strength and deadlift strength. It's definitely one you want in a power building, powerlifting, or even just a bodybuilding program in general. Then we move on to our 3 by 10 hack squats. Hack squats are a movement that I have just recently started doing. I've been in the gym for years and years and years, and hack squats I only started adding in probably this year or last year. I never really did them frequently, and now I'm doing them pretty dang frequently, and I'm loving them. I like to play around with different exercise variations, and sometimes we can all relate to this. We get stuck on the movements we tend to always do, and we don't really change it up or play around with new movements, new exercises, new machines, new equipment, and so that's what I'm doing here. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna move into our first superset of this day, and that is going to be 3 by 10 of the front foot elevated lunges. This will be superset with 12 cable glute pull-throughs. So for the front foot elevated lunges, this is like the opposite of a Bulgarian split squat where the rear foot is elevated. So instead, what we're gonna focus on is getting in that deeper range of motion by allowing that back knee to drop lower to the ground. And then we're supersetting again with some cable glute pull-throughs. And then we are gonna finish the day with 3 sets of 12 to 15 weighted back extensions with a glute focus. Think of, instead of leading with your shoulders or the top of your head, leading with the mid to upper back, so that instead you're focusing on the glutes rather than rounding your lower back. When you do round the lower back, you're putting that focus into the low back rather than the glutes. And this is usually why a lot of people will try to grow their glutes, but they won't ever feel the activation in their glutes, which means they're never really training their glutes to the fullest, which means they're not really going to progress the way they want to. So if you're someone who doesn't really necessarily feel the movement in their glutes while you try to grow them, then that is something to think about. We're going to go ahead and move on to our final day for this week's power building program. It is day 4, and this is our bench day again. Typically I actually have 3 bench days and 2 leg days, but this week we only did 4. And we start off, we do the warm-ups that I already mentioned from our first bench day, but we're gonna go ahead and start with more of the strength-focused bench day. And this is going to be 5 sets of 3 to 4 reps of the chain floor press. So the benefit of these chains is they can help you with your weak points in your bench press. What it does is as the chains come down towards the floor, the lift gets a little bit easier, and as you press towards the top, the chains start to lift from the floor, and that makes the top of the lift a little bit harder, more challenging, which is beneficial for multiple reasons. One, again, it can help with sticking points, it can help with lockout, it can help with stability. I've been loving that one in my program. I've been keeping that in my training blocks pretty consistently as of lately. And then we're gonna go ahead and move on to 3 sets of 12 seated barbell overhead presses. I am very weak in my shoulders. Like I said, I'm pretty trap dominant. So I'm working on going lighter and focusing on proper form, focusing on really pressing all the way up. Arms are gonna reach right next to those ears. And then we're gonna move on to our first superset of this day, and that is going to be 3 sets of 12 seated close grip rows. And we will superset this one with 10 Arnold presses. This is a different variation. I saw another trainer doing this and I wanted to try it out. Basically, you do a normal Arnold press, but instead of just coming forward, you kind of pulse at the top. Don't know really how I feel about it, but I decided I would try it out for 4 to 6 weeks and get my own opinion rather than just watching her do it. So the next one we go into is 3 sets of 12 cable tricep pushdowns, and we're going to superset this one with 15 cable face pulls. These 2 movements, not necessarily as a superset, but these 2 movements are almost always in my own programming because they help build my triceps the best, and face pulls are also a necessity in my program because they help with growing your rear delts, they help with injury prevention, because if we're only, especially when we're powerlifting, chest pressing a lot or benching a lot, you're really anterior focused, so that means we're building up those front of the shoulders, but then the rear delts are going to be a little bit weaker, and this can cause injuries. So we want to make sure that we are also focusing on injury prevention in our training. You will see this in powerlifting, you will see this in bodybuilding, you will see this in power building. Rear delts are important to focus on for injury prevention, so make sure you do include some rear delt work, especially if you are benching a lot. And then we're going to go ahead and finish this one with 3 sets of 20 decline sit-ups. We throw in a little twist there. Didn't really love the twist, but I used to do those a lot, and turns out I don't love this movement anymore. I think I just like the regular decline sit-ups, but I wanted to throw in some older movements that I was doing in my bodybuilding days, and this was one of them, and I just don't love the way it feels. So that is the end of this power building week. Like I said, normally I do train 5 times per week. This one just happened to be 4 times per week, but try out these movements, try out these tips. Hopefully you like them. If you do like the video and interact and comment on the video, it does help me out a lot. Puts the videos out to other people. So if you thought this was helpful, it does help me out, and I appreciate you guys if you did stick around this far. If you're interested in coaching, I myself am a trainer and coach. I also have a Brian who is in this video. You can work with him as well, and I will leave the information. You can apply to work with him or with me down in the description box below on my website, www.flexclub.fit. It should be linked down below, but you can also search it. And that is it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.